best part about it is the lasting relationships with the guys we played with.
The warmth, the relationship, the feeling that you had, camaraderie, that fit together so easily.
It was just a great time of my life.
What I remember most is the friendships.
That's what today's all about, friendship.
Something I'll always have with me and I'll never forget.
A few years ago, I started playing golf with some of my former teammates at Northeastern, and we talked a lot about coming back to games, and got involved and started up the Facebook group, and it's been terrific. It's connected us together from the 60s. We all didn't know each other, and especially our era with players ever since then through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then the Bill Cohen era.
I'm trying to ferret out all the memories. They blend, you know. All of my former teammates are telling me, "Do you remember this? Remember that?" And some I do, and some I go, "Holy moly, is that right? We did that."
The main thing that I remember about it is that there was a group of individuals, many of them who ended up at Northeastern purely by chance, for unbeknownst reasons. The teams that we've had in that period were most of the players were within 10 miles of Greater Boston. You had a hockey player in high school who became the captain of the team in 1963. You had twin brothers out of Milton who came here specifically because of an alumnus by the name of Inga Walsh. And I ended up at Northeastern because people at Boston University changed coaches and had no place for me in their roster. So, as we say, a lot of it just came about because of serendipity.
Basketball-wise, I wasn't a real star. I wasn't a Hall of Fame guy. I wasn't, the Rick Weitzman who went on to the NBA. But back then, it was. The whole team was the movement of the players. It was like a locomotive that was going down the tracks, and everybody contributed. We never had a 25-point scorer. We had a lot of 10, 12, 14-point scores per game, and that contributed to our balance and won us a lot of games.
The big things I remember about Northeastern were in 1966-67. We had the best winning percentage, 22-4, in the history of the school. We beat everybody, and we averaged around 89 points a game. So, and that's without the three-point shot.
The best memory, absolutely, was going to the 6 months of a work program, and then coming back and having no studies to do. So you had the studies at a certain time, and then you had the free time to do your athletics without having a classroom requirement. Fantastic.
Being with a bunch of people that were winning all the time. We won everything for 3 years.
I was recruited by Northeastern. One reason I went there, my high school coach was one of the all-time great players, John Malvey, was a leader of the Northeastern teams that went on to Evansville. I played basketball at Northeastern from 66 through 70. I was captain of the team 69, 70, and actually my sophomore year was the last year that Northeastern played Division II. Moved up to Division I when I was a junior.
Well, the best part was that my mother lived right around the corner from the college, and I used to bring her to all the games. And I've been fortunate and blessed enough to have her still alive and still with me. And I remember those days when I would bring her just right around the corner to those games, and she would be right in the stands. It's just, and the people that lived and knew me would come to the games as well. Just actually drive over, and here they are.
We have memories of some nice wins. For me personally, the greatest win was when we beat BC, when Bob Cousy was first year at BC. We were all local guys, and we beat the teams with guys from New York and everywhere.
So my memories are a little foggy. It was just a wonderful time, and being a youngster at the time, I got through it all, and it was a crazy time. The 60s were a crazy time, kind of sort of like today is.
What are your best memories from playing in Northeastern?
Just the camaraderie, and it still exists today. You can just feel it with the guys that you played with, and you were your own little fraternity. Is basically what it was. And I had ups and downs as a player. I had a really good junior year and a lot of memories from that final year of being in the college division.
Well, it's the best part about it is the lasting relationships with the guys we played with.
It was a very close-knit family, and we just all got along together. It was just a wonderful thing, and we worked hard together, we played hard together, and we had fun together.
I think the camaraderie, the friendships we made, I still see a number of the players that I played with. Here it is 50 years later, and it was just a family atmosphere that Coach Dukeshire promoted, and it's obvious that it worked.
I played with these guys back in the 60s, 61, 62, 63. And I stayed the next year. I liked it so much.
It was all so close. We used to have a party every Saturday night at our apartments, and all the players attended, even if they didn't live at Northeastern. They lived off campus in suburban towns. They always made our parties.
You know, I was only involved in basketball formally for a short period of time, but I met all these guys and friends for life. That's the best part of my experience at Northeastern.
I'd like to add, John's one of the greatest players in the history of Northeastern. John. He won't say that himself. And Hank Vitelli is one of the greatest boosters here at NU for NU basketball. And he's following now for almost 50 years. And John, Jasper, and I were lucky to have both of them as our friends. We don't have too many. Right?
Well, the biggest thing was the camaraderie with the other guys on the team. And because I came from Boston and they came from other states, and it was just a nice mixture of personalities. And we learned a lot from each other, and we learned a lot from our coach, Dick Dukeshire.
They came here in '64, the fall of '64, from Schenectady, New York. And I came to Northeastern as a 17-year-old kid, under the arm and the wing of Coach Dick Dukeshire. Who was a surrogate parent, even though he was a young fella then himself.
Being 18 years old and leaving your town, going into a big city, and you see an older person that you don't know, you learn a lot about that person as he interacts with you. And I found him to be very honest, very classy, and as a person, my father was very happy that I had someone like that in my life, because I was all alone up here with basketball and some coaches.
I saw him as a father figure, and he was the guy that sort of put you in your place and gave you the motivation to become more than you probably would have come in another situation.
Our coach, I think, was really ahead of his time and was never recognized for what he had done. In the 2 years before we had come here, and being from Stamford, Connecticut, and a couple of other players from Schenectady, New York, and one from Waterbury, Connecticut, we didn't know how good the teams in 1961 through 63 were. And they'd gone to the Division II regional finals, and then they went to the national finals in Evansville, Indiana. But Duke was 33 years old at that time.
As far as the coaching was concerned, I was very, very impressed with the coaching style and the regiments that we went through, and learned an awful lot about basketball in a very quick time.
Dick Dukeshire brought us all together, who was probably the best coach in New England. He went to Greece, left Northeastern, and is a legendary name in the international basketball community. And we were lucky to play for him.
He had a tough time with me because I was 6'1", but I was a forward, so I should have been in a small college playing. When I was here, so he made me a point guard. And I was probably maybe one of the worst point guards in the world, but I could still play defense and jump. And
I've been on a lot of teams in my life and my whole career, and then just life is involved with teamwork. Dukeshire taught me to respect my teammates, to think about my teammates, and to trust my teammates. And I don't know what else to say except that we'd go to practice, and practice was fun. Practice was exciting, and when you were practicing for Coach Dukeshire, you knew that he was preparing you for something this other team was going to bring to the game. And so he learned a lesson for life was be prepared, think about what's coming, and think about what's going on and how you can contribute. And trust your teammates. And those are lessons of life. And so I think that I learned those lessons of life from Coach Dukeshire, whether or not it was about basketball or whether it was just about people.
Growing up, being 17, 18, 19 under Coach Dukeshire was a fantastic experience. He kept you on the narrow, he kept the guardrails up for you, even though being in a city like Boston with a lot of other college people in Boston, and during the 60s, which was a pretty tumultuous time, got through it all, and I think a lot of it was to the credit of Coach Dukeshire.
So our connection to Northeastern basketball is through our father, Coach Dukeshire, and he coached here when we were really young. I was born in '64, Kim was born in '62, so we were very young, but my memories and my sister's memories are running around the gym when he was coaching or during practices.
I actually did my master's at Northeastern. Part of the reason I came here was because of the education, but also a big part of it, and I put it in my original letter when I wanted to come here, was that Biggie had coached here, and I obviously wasn't alive during that time, but I looked back at probably, I would say, 15 scrapbooks of all of his coaching journey, and it was really exciting and something even now to talk to all the alumni that was really cool, and it was a big part of me wanting to be here, and it's exciting to be here today for sure.
I do remember being taken under the wing of the cheerleaders during the games and was given my own set of pom-poms. And absolutely running around the Cabot gym, up and down those stairs, getting in trouble. And a couple of the alumni today have told us that they were kind of watching over us.
I had always heard he had coached at Northeastern and in Greece, and he would always talk to me and my younger sister who played basketball about sports, and he would love coming to watch our games and hear how we were doing with basketball.
My father to me was a great inspiration in life. He taught a lot about the value of teammanship, the value of fundamentals, just leadership, integrity. He was always, just a good father and a good leader, trying to, lead by example, really. And always a tough competitor too, no matter what. Whenever we played sports against each other, it was never give me for sure, no matter how many times we played. But I eventually did start beating him in a racquetball, which he did not take well at first.
He passed away when we were kind of young, but I do always remember talking to him about sports. That was huge in his life. He would always ask me how soccer was going, and to be honest, hearing all of their stories and all the emails we've gotten sent from the alumni, it's really amazing to see how important he was in their lives. He touched them so much, they still talk about it 40 years later, and that's really cool and important because I remember having coaches that I still care about and really talk about, so I think it's super important that he made such a big impact on them for sure.
He was a great dad. He always set the bar very high, and you always knew when he was disappointed, but more importantly, you always knew when he was proud of you, and today would be one of those days. He would be so proud of all of these gentlemen and the fact that they're getting acknowledged and recognition today. And one of his things he used to always say was, always be the last to arrive and the first to leave. Keeps you out of trouble.
And I guess for me, he just kind of like instilled in my sister and I, and like probably for Alyssa as well, like in sports or in school, to always work hard and be determined.
As a family, we're proud of him, and it's exciting to be here for sure. I think it's huge for this. It's a legacy that I feel like we're leaving with him, and we're able to be here for him, and I'm happy we get to be here as a family together because we're definitely close. So it's exciting to be here and celebrate him and be with all these people.
Hearing the stories from the players that played for him are absolutely heartwarming and great, and it's definitely nice to hear, and it's great to spend this day here and watch the banner go up and what it represents for all the teams and the players that played here during the 60s.
He was a great person, fantastic coach, and I'm glad he was part of my life.
Dick Dukeshire was a great coach. We sorely miss him.
It was held in Rochester, which had about 5,400 people that it could seat. And by the last game, I think we had 5,400 people rooting for us. It was quite an experience.
I played from 1965 through 1969. We made the NCAA tournament twice in 67 and 68.
That was my sophomore year. We were loaded. We had an outstanding team. And the problem was, being at Northeastern, we were on a trimester. We went to the tournament regionals, Northeast regionals, which were at the University of Rochester up in New York. And we were the only team there in the tournament that was taking final exams. So we actually had to take 3 of our exams in a conference room in the hotel, which I believe hurt us. The other teams were fresh, and we were worried about taking exams. So
what I remember most is the tournaments, making the tournament. Our sophomore year was a total surprise. We went to Evansville as in the final 8 in the country, and it was such a thrill flying out there. First time we ever got in a plane, I think. Yeah.
The thrill of just going to it, actually. It was just so much fun, and they treated you like kings. It was fun, but it was just the thrill of just being selected to go. It was wonderful. Not every team goes, and we were one of them, so that was really neat.
And I remember my first year there, the first year Malcolm went to the NCAA tournament, went to the final 8 in Evansville. And I thought that was great. Next year we did it back to back. I was a sophomore, and that was a great experience. And as a junior, on the leadership with John, we almost went for the 3rd year in a row, losing a 2-pointer to Delphi in the regional finals.
The tournaments were very unusual. The sophomore year that I started, we were 10-10. The following year, we ended up playing in the national tournament with being one of the 8 top teams. At that time, you had to have an invitation to be in the tournament. We had a public relations director by the name of Al Shields, who eventually went on to Bentley and started their whole program, which is completely successful, who pushed for us to be in the tournament. We were the last of the 4 teams entered. We were the complete underdog. But prior to that, we had been on a winning streak where we were averaging 75 to 80 points a game. So we were a very, very well-rounded team where 4 guys at any time could get you 15 to 20 points. As we go into the first tournament, we're down a lot of points, 13 in the first half against St. Anselm's, who was the favorite. We come back and blow them out the second half, getting over 50 points in the half. Without a shot clock, without a 3-point shot. The last game against Fairfield, who at that time was one of the best universities, playing a Division I type schedule. They again went up 13 or 14 on us. We came back and won by 10.
came back to a game and I saw the banners here and I saw the NCAA participation for 81, 82, and just something went off in my head. How come there isn't one for the 60s? So it's been a long process, but the athletic administration has been terrific, and we got it done, and today's a special day.